What's going on, horror fans? Welcome back to my channel today with the recent announcement of the Idle Hands remake. You know, there's a new one coming, which I'm not upset about. I'll go ahead and put that out there. I'm not upset. This is not a movie that I hold, super sacred. Not like The Crow. Everybody knew The Crow remake was going to be, just shit on, no matter how good it was. But this is, just a fun comedy from the late 90s. So I'm interested to see how they make fun of some newer horror tropes in the way that this movie kind of made fun of some of the older horror tropes while being funny and at times reasonably scary. So this is a great movie and I'm excited about the remake. So in honor of that, I wanted to look at the original. And if you somehow are not familiar with the original, you're a younger person, that's fine. I highly recommend this movie if you've never seen it. Devon Sawa, you might know him from another different thing. I mean, really, all of these main characters, you date yourself when you sort of say what you remember them from because, I remember when this guy right here, was slapping hockey pucks into trunks in the alleyway. This guy was longing for his evil dad's approval. This guy right here, where is he? Devon Sawa was freaking hucking toilet paper into shopping carts, and Jessica Alba's just been one of my number ones since I first saw her. It was actually that show where she played the badass Supergirl. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'm embarrassed, but that's what I remember her from originally. But anyway, just dated myself horribly. But some of you guys may understand some of those references. If you do, how did your back feel today? Mine hurt a lot, actually. But anyway, let's get to the review. This is one of my favorite movies. I love this movie. So let's get to it. Now, we're going to handle this in sort of a pros cons sort of way because this movie, for me, is really good, but it also has a few cons, a few things that I might change. But one of the first major pros for me starts at the beginning of the movie, and it is the opening. I love the opening to this movie. This is a horror comedy that does not forget to throw actual horror in it. And if you somehow stumbled onto this movie blind, you might actually find yourself a bit creeped out by the opening as we watch Mom and Dad Tobias, played by Connie Ray and Fred Willard, respectively, get brutally murdered. And we don't see it, we don't see it happen. We see a little bit of blood, but there's a decent setup. And again, a couple of horror movie tropes. You get the cat jump scare, you've got the blood slip, and then, of course, there's somebody under the bed. But I mean, they do it really well. This movie does it reasonably well. Again, for a comedy, we're talking about a comedy here, but you actually get a little bit of atmosphere. You get, again, a couple of the tropes, and it's a decent little finish with the mom getting pulled under the bed. And if you remember that that's her baby boy, spoiler alert, it's her baby boy that's doing it. It's kind of a brutal end to the opening scene. So bravo there. Again, that's one of my major pros of this movie. Is I really do love the opening, and I also love the balance of comedy and horror. I think that if you're talking horror comedy, body horror, teen horror, stoner horror, I mean, this movie has a lot of genres that it covers. It kind of teeters the line, but it does them all reasonably well. And one of them I think that actually does shine is the actual horror. There's a couple moments that work really well. Opening's one of them. Now, after the killer opening, we meet Anton, who is played by the iconic Devon Sawa. And Anton is your classic stoner character, wakes up listening to kick-ass music, puts on headphones with kick-ass music, and just goes around the house. He's completely oblivious that his parents have been murdered. At this point, it's been days. He only notices because he starts running out of food and the dog starts running out of food. So he's your classic. Again, we're talking teen horror here, so he's that guy. He's the perfect hero, quote unquote, for this movie. But anyway, he runs out of weed, so he has to go down the street, and that's where we meet a couple of his friends, Mick, played by Seth Green, and then Pina, played by Eldon Henson. Again, those two guys, Seth Green and Eldon Henson, again, you can really date yourself. Eldon Henson especially has been, I think, in the business almost his entire life. So this is a cast that's been around for most of my life, so it's a great nostalgia filled ride for me to go back and watch this movie. But anyway, he goes down, he runs into his friends. It's obvious to everybody watching that Anton is a mooch. I mean, he's even not just a mooch to his family; he's a mooch to his friends because they hold out on him. They don't even share their weed with him until he leaves and they start lighting up again. So it's kind of funny to show that it's not only his family that's probably a little frustrated with his antics, but his friends are too. This is also when we get our first look at Molly, the love interest, played by the attractive Jessica Alba. A lot of people think that she's one of the sexiest, horror film character people, whatever you want to call it, of all time. So I'm not going to cast my vote in that debate, but I will leave all of this here for evidence for one way or the other. You let me know down below where she would rank on your most beautiful women to be featured in a horror movie. She's definitely near the top. I'm sure most people can agree. But anyway, Anton is absolutely smitten with Molly. Molly lives just down the road, writes her own lyrics. Is that he likes that she's an artist. He's got layers, man. This guy isn't just about the physical, of course. So we have to establish that there are layers to this. But anyway, his friends do nothing but razz him, and like I said, as soon as he leaves, they begin to light up. So we watch Anton kind of go through some daily shenanigans, and it's just all a basic setup before the movie proper begins, and we get a very quick establishing shot of Vivica A. Fox's character, who is here simply to kind of exposit a few lines of dialogue and deliver the MacGuffin. So her purpose here, certainly for the beginning parts of this movie, are near non-existent. And I do have to admit, the jump scene scare with the cops actually worked pretty well. It actually startled me. I forgot about it on my most recent rewatch, and actually got me. So the movie jumps again back and forth between horror and comedy seamlessly throughout the entire runtime. It's also a pretty brisk hour and a half. It doesn't linger. Could we have gotten a little bit more story about what actually is going on? Maybe, or you could just enjoy the ride, and that's really what this movie's about. You're not here for the story, you're just here to kind of watch the antics. And the movie really relies a lot on Devon Sawa and his charm, because Anton's ability to be both absolutely pitiful yet deeply endearing is 100% because of the talents of our leading man. And there's a couple of sequences, long stretches, where we're just spending time with Anton. So Devon Sawa's ability to carry the film, be charming, be funny, be endearing, but also be completely pathetic. Somebody that we want to see rise to the occasion. And he also has a couple of really amazing physical comedy bits throughout this movie. So there's a lot of really good moments there. But again, the second pro, I've talked about him for the last few minutes, is the cast. The cast of this movie is top notch. This movie wouldn't be nearly as great without the cast. And again, we've already mentioned it, but we'll give him another shout out. We've got Devon Sawa as Anton, Seth Green as the best friend Mitch, Eldon Henson as Peanut, Jessica Alba as Molly, and then Vivica A. Fox shows up. She does her job. She plays Devi LaCure. This is the Loomis character. I know that's blasphemy because she's nowhere near that, but she's the person who's bringing doom. She understands what's coming for these kids, so that's her purpose in the movie. And I think that the cast absolutely elevates this movie above what is just on the paper, and namely Devon Sawa. Devon Sawa is absolutely remarkable, super hilarious, and all the guys have wonderful chemistry between one another. But speaking about Vivica A. Fox's character, that does bring me to my first con, and it's that her character, I talked about it briefly, is just not in the first almost hour of the movie. She shows up, she has the one quick scene, and then we see her driving for about 15 seconds, and that's it. She's not in the movie. So when she shows up to deliver the MacGuffin and get the kill shot, it just doesn't feel quite earned. I would have loved to have her somehow meet up with Anton or meet up with these main characters just a bit earlier in the movie than we got her, but that's a small gripe. It definitely doesn't ruin the movie for me. But I do think it would have elevated her character a bit if we would have gotten her intertwined into the main plot with our characters just a tad bit earlier. Another pro is going to be the music and the soundtrack. The music for this movie is absolutely fantastic, and it starts from the intro, the opening credits. The music there is so amazing. Go back and listen to the intro. Very creepy, very eerie, and it sets you up for the very surprising opening sequence that, to me, again, is legitimately creepy at times. And the music during that, while it's a little bit cliche at times with some of the cues, it works really well. I think that the music for this movie makes you feel exactly what they want you to feel when they want you to feel it. And then you have some of the best 90s, rock and pop songs featuring Rob Zombie. You've got some Sublime. You've got some Offspring with a cameo from Offspring at the end of the dance. So, very cool musical nods. And this definitely, I remember the music from this movie, throughout. Every time I see it, I have a lot of fun reliving some of those memories from a lot of the music from this movie. So, I have to give that a shout out as well. Well done. Now, one of the subgenres for this movie is body horror, and it definitely lives up to that. I would say that one of the pros of this movie are the effects, especially the body effects of this movie. Huge pro. I don't think they just hold up for a 25-year-old movie. I think they look damn good, even for a 25-year-old movie. The movie's still really, really enjoyable to watch. It doesn't look hokey or fake, and it certainly could have. But a couple of really standout sequences for me were Mick and P-Nub's deaths, both of their sequences, and therefore after death effects, zombie effects are really well done. The hand in the microwave, the decapitation scene, that whole sequence, really creepy, really well done. The guys eating the burritos, that's a really, really well done gross out sequence. And then I also really enjoyed the Dexter Holland, the Offspring, him getting scalped. I thought that was a really cool kind of surprise effect. But anyway, the effects of this movie very well done, hold up 100%. Absolute pro for me. Another big pro for me is just the fact that this movie has a lot of horror homages, things that it tries to pay tribute to. You have sleazy characters like the principal who are getting their comeuppance. He gets killed in that back room while he's trying to do some phone sex. It comes out of nowhere, but it's just put there to kind of make the hardcore fans laugh. You've got what else do we got? You got characters who are just trying to have sex, in the car, and they get absolutely massacred by the hand. You've got, the mystery killer cold open, that's a tried and true trope. And then you've got the final act, at the school, complete with a final act massacre. So there are a lot of things that happen in this movie that are 100% meant to pay homage, pay tribute to things that have come before. And I respect a movie, that respects what came before. Idle Hands. It might be a joke at times, but it does represent I think the genre very well, both comedy and horror. But this does bring me to my final con, and it's a small con. Again, I really do enjoy this movie, but my final con is going to be the ending, pretty much from the duct scene onto the garage scene, because I feel like we could have gotten one more really decent scare built in there, but the rest of it, you do have the kill of Molly's friend, but that's more played for gags. That's not really that effective, at least to me. I think I would have liked a little bit more, maybe of a cat and mouse sequence with the hand and the girls before we got to the kill. But again, it just felt kind of rushed. I don't know why. I feel like once we got to the school, really the last 35 minutes, once Anton cuts off his hand, everything kind of escalates really really quickly. So I feel like maybe they could have slowed down just a bit. Maybe got to that point again, got Vivica A. Fox's character there a little bit earlier, and then maybe we could have built the stakes up a little bit longer, and we would have got a more satisfying conclusion. Just my opinion. Again, it by no means ruins this very enjoyable ride. That's what we're here for. We're here for the ride. We get to the end, the movie just kind of ends. There's a silly little sequence where Anton's body gets broken. So I mean, that's his entire body gets broken, and he refuses to go to heaven so he can stay back with Molly. So that's where we're at the end of the movie. It works perfectly fine. I don't have very many cons for this movie. For the most part, I think everything works really well. Another pro for me would be the comedy. I think that there's just timeless comedy. There's not jokes that I think are super dated. You go back and you watch some of the teen movies from the 90s and they just make your eyes roll. And there might be some moments here that do that for you, but I still laughed at a lot of the jokes. I still think that these three guys all have really good chemistry. The jokes are fun. There's enough dark humor there. And then there's just enough lighthearted humor, funny, playful banter between friends. So I think the movie has a little bit for everybody. If you are a fan of the genre, if you like zombie movies, if you like sort of I mean, it's only a who done it for a small portion of the movie, so I can't say that this is an honest to goodness who done it, but there is a small mystery at least for a little while. Obviously, if you've watched this movie, it's no longer a mystery, or this video is no longer a mystery. But if you are able to go into this movie blind, you're gonna have a good time. I would give it I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a really, really fantastic movie for what it set out to be. Again, I'm a little bit nostalgia for it because this was in 1999. I was the perfect age for it. Was the target demographic. So I love Idle Hands. Comment down below. Let me know your feeling on Idle Hands. Do you love this movie? Do you hate this movie? Have you never seen this movie? If you've never seen it, you shouldn't have watched the video. You should have went and watched that first and then came back and shared your opinion. But anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm working on another really big video, but I wanted to get something else out in the meantime, and I saw the announcement about the remake. And again, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this franchise. I think that there's a lot of potential to grow. You know, we have the framework here, we have this sort of basic lore set out. So build upon it and let's, put in a really bad, you learn from this movie, it's all about the cast. They got to put a badass cast out there and let them shine, give them opportunities to be funny, but also, again, build suspense, a little bit of suspense, a little bit of horror, a little bit of comedy. For most people, it's perfection. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time, but until then, be good people, be good to each other. We'll catch you next time.